It's a pleasure to have you join me on this virtual journey. Welcome. Hello and a warm welcome to our channel. Today, we're delving into the Makioka Sisters. Is a novel by Japanese writer Jun'ichirō Tanizaki that was serialized from 1943 to 1948. It follows the lives of the wealthy Makioka family of Osaka from the autumn of 1936 to April 1941, focusing on the family's attempts to find a husband for the third sister, Yukiko. It depicts the decline of the family's upper-middle-class, suburban lifestyle as the specter of World War I and Allied occupation hangs over the novel. It was translated into English by Edward G. Seidensticker and published by Alfred A. Knopf. Patrick McCoy of the Japan Times described the book as being Tolstoyan in length and scope. Get ready for an exciting part as we dive into story. Title. The novel's title means lightly falling snow and is also used in classical Japanese poetry. The image suggests falling cherry blossoms in early spring. A number of poets confess to confusing falling cherry blossoms with snow. Falling cherry blossoms are a common symbol of impermanence, a prevalent theme of the novel. The Insasam Yuki is the same as the Yuki in Yukiko's name, suggesting that she is the central character of the novel. These nuances do not translate well into English. The translator, Edward Seidensticker, struggled over the title. Translations like fine snow and snow flurries do not convey the elegance or layers of meaning in the Japanese title. Characters. The eldest Makioka sister and mistress of the main house. The second oldest Makioka sister and mistress of the Ashiya branch house. The third Makioka sister, 30 and unmarried, shy and retiring. The youngest Makioka sister, unable to marry Okubata until a husband has been found for Yukiko. Saruko's husband and head of the family, a cautious bank employee who has taken the Makioka name. Sachiko's husband, an accountant who has also taken the Makioka name. Young daughter of Sachiko and Tanizaki. A maid at the Ashiya house. Son of a prominent Osaka merchant family, has tried to elope with Takeo. A photographer and former clerk at the Okubata's jewelry store. Owner of the beauty parlor the Makioka sisters patronize, enjoys acting as a go-between in marriage negotiations. Plot. Book 1. The Makiokas are an upper-middle-class family from Osaka, Japan. At the time of their father's prime, they were one of the wealthiest families in the region, but over the last generation their fortunes have fallen into decline. The main branch lives in Osaka at the family home and consists of their eldest sister, Saruko, her husband, Tatsu, who has taken the Makioka name, and their 6 children. The branch house is located in Ashiya, an affluent suburb between Osaka and Kobe, and consists of the second oldest sister, Sachiko, her husband, Tanizaki, also an adopted Makioka, and their young daughter, Itsuko. Saruko and Sachiko have 2 younger sisters, Yukiko and Takeo, who are unmarried and move between the main house and the branch house. As the novel opens, the Makioka's pride has led them to dismiss the numerous marriage proposals they have received for Yukiko in the past, but now that their fortunes have declined, the rate of proposals has slowed, and Yukiko, now 30, remains without a husband. To make matters worse, her name was mistakenly printed in place of Takeo's in a local newspaper story. Takeo had run away with Okubata. Tatsu demanded a retraction, but instead, the newspaper ran a correction, replacing Yukiko's name with Takeo's. The article embarrassed the Makioka family and stained both Yukiko's and Takeo's names. Unhappy with the way Tatsu handled the affair and generally dissatisfied with his cautious nature, Yukiko and Takeo have begun spending most of their time at the Ashiya house. In the wake of the newspaper incident, Takeo finds refuge in doll making. She is quite skilled, and her dolls are sold in department stores. She convinces Sachiko to find her a studio, where she spends a great deal of time working on her dolls. Itani brings Sachiko a marriage prospect, a man named Segushi. Hurried by Itani, the family agrees to an informal before they can thoroughly check Segushi's background. The Makiokas become optimistic about their chances of making the match, but are eventually forced to decline when they discover that Seigashi's mother is afflicted with a kind of dementia which was considered hereditary. A few months later, Sachiko receives word of another marriage prospect, this time from an old classmate, Mrs. Jimba. The prospective groom is a middle-aged widow named Nomura. Sachiko is not particularly excited about him because of his aged appearance, but decides to have him investigated all the same. She asks Mrs. Jimba to give them 1 or 2 months to make a decision. In the meantime, the bank Tatsu works for has decided to send him to Tokyo to manage a branch office. He and his family will move to Tokyo, and it is decided that Yukiko and Teiko should go with them. Teiko is allowed to stay in Ashiya for a short while to tend to her business, but Yukiko is to leave immediately. Yukiko is unhappy in Tokyo, and Saruko suggests they send her back to Osaka for a while. A follow-up letter regarding Nomura arrives from Mrs. Jimba, just as Sachiko is searching for an excuse to send for Yukiko. Though not enthusiastic about the match, the Makiokas agree to meet as a pretense for bringing Yukiko back to Ashiya. Shortly before the meet, Sachiko has a miscarriage, and the Makiokas are forced to postpone meeting Nomura. When Sachiko, Tanizaki, and Yukiko finally meet him, a week later, Sachiko is surprised at how old he looks. After dinner, they are taken back to Nomura's house, where he shows them the Buddhist altar where he prays for his dead wife and children. Yukiko, put off by his insensitivity, declares that she cannot marry him. The family refuses Nomura's marriage proposal, and Yukiko is sent back to Tokyo. Book 2. Teiko's interest in dolls wanes, and she begins to devote time to Western-style sewing and traditional Osaka dance. A dance recital is held at the Ashiya house with Teiko as one of the performers. A personable young photographer named Itakura takes pictures at the request of Okubita. Itakura and Teiko are already acquainted. He photographs her dolls. A month later, a disastrous flood strikes the Kansai region. Teiko is attending a sewing school in the area hardest hit. Itakura rescues her. Impressed by his heroism, Teiko begins to fall for him. Eventually, Teiko's and Itakura's relationship becomes known to Sachiko, who disapproves because of Itakura's low social standing. Nevertheless, Teiko is determined to marry him. Teiko wants to study fashion design in France with her sewing teacher and asks Sachiko to convince the main house to support her. When Teiko's sewing teacher abandons her plans to go to France, Teiko decides to open a Western-style dress shop. She goes to Tokyo to ask the main house for money, but is immediately called back to Osaka because Itakura has fallen ill. Itakura is hospitalized for an inner ear infection and dies of gangrene resulting from complications of surgery. Itakura's death alleviates Sachiko's concern that Teiko will marry below their class. Book 3. In June, Tatsu's eldest sister alerts Sachiko of a marriage prospect, a Mr. Sawazaki from a prominent Nagoya family. Sachiko, Yukiko, Teiko, and Itsuko visit Tatsu's sister in Geiki so that Yukiko can attend the meet. The meet does not go well. Sachiko is left with a negative impression, and Sawazaki rejects the marriage. This is the first time the Makiokas have been refused by a marriage prospect. Upon her return, Sachiko hears that Teiko has taken up again with Okubita. As the relationship grows increasingly open, Tanizaki informs Saruko. Saruko demands that Teiko be sent to Tokyo. Teiko refuses and is disinherited. Later, Itani presents another marriage prospect for Yukiko. The potential suitor, Hashidra, is an attractive candidate, but he is uncertain if he wants to remarry. Tanizaki takes Yukiko to meet him and goes to great lengths to see the match through, but Yukiko's shyness causes Hashidra to call off the negotiations. Just after this, Sachiko is informed that Teiko has fallen severely ill at Okubita's house. At first, it is assumed that she has dysentery, but the diagnosis is later changed to anthrax. Teiko's condition grows progressively worse, and the sisters are torn between finding better care and allowing Teiko to be seen at Okubita's house. Eventually she is moved to the hospital of a family friend, where she slowly recovers. Meanwhile, Sachiko is told that Teiko has been living off of Okubita since being disinherited. Sachiko also hears that Takeo may be involved with a bartender named Miyoshi. Sachiko is aghast, but now sees a marriage between Takeo and Okubita as a necessity. After Takeo has recovered, Sachiko learns that Okubita is being pressured by his family to go to Manchuria. Sachiko and Yukiko think that Takeo should go with him. Takeo objects, but Yukiko pushes her, saying that she is indebted to Okubita for everything he has given her. Takeo leaves the house in tears and stays away for 2 days. Okubita eventually decides against going to Manchuria. The Makiokas also learn that Itani is planning to sell her shop and travel to America, but before her departure, Itani informs Sachiko that she has another suitor for Yukiko. His name is Mimeki, an illegitimate son of a viscount. The sisters travel to Tokyo to meet him, and he quickly charms them. While in Tokyo, Takeo tells Sachiko that she is 4 months pregnant with Miyoshi's child. Sachiko and Tanizaki arrange for Takeo to have the baby secretly at Arena. To protect the Makioka's reputation, Tanizaki asks Okubita to remain silent about Takeo's behavior. Okubita agrees, on condition that Tanizaki compensate him for the money he has spent on Takeo. Tanizaki agrees to pay him 2,000 yen. Takeo's baby dies at birth, and Takeo moves in with Miyoshi. The Makiokas are pressed to answer Mimeki's marriage proposal. Yukiko accepts, whereupon Tanizaki sends a letter to the main house asking for their consent. The wedding date and location are set, and a house is secured for the new couple. Yukiko is not excited when her wedding kimono arrives and suffers from diarrhea, which persists on the train ride to Tokyo. As we progress, let's shine a spotlight on background and examine its intricate interplay within our topic. Tanizaki was born in Tokyo in 1886. After the 1923 Great Count earthquake and fire, which destroyed Tokyo, he settled permanently in Kansai, the region where the Makioka Sisters is set. Many of the characters and events in the Makioka Sisters are loosely based on real people and events. Sachiko is modeled after Tanizaki's third wife, Matsuko, and Sachiko's sisters correspond to Matsuko's. Sachiko's husband, Tanizaki, does not resemble Tanizaki, however. The Makioka Sisters spans the period from autumn 1936 to April 1941, ending about 7 months before the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. The novel references a number of contemporary events, such as the Kobe Flood of 1938, the Second Sino-Japanese War, and the growing tensions in Europe. Publication began in 1943, at the height of World War II. The popularity of the novel attracted the attention of government censors, who ordered that publication be halted, saying, "The novel goes on and on detailing the very thing we are most supposed to be on our guard against during this period of wartime emergency, the soft, effeminate, and grossly individualistic lives of women." Prepare yourself for an in-depth analysis of themes in this section. Decline and decay are prominent themes of the Makioka Sisters and are emphasized by the repetition of certain events. The succession of Yukiko's suitors, the Makioka's yearly jury-viewing excursions, and the increasing severity of illness in the novel form a pattern of decline in repetition. In reaction to this decline, the characters long for an idealized past or the attempt to remain connected to their past through yearly rituals and observances. The Makioka's adherence to these rituals connects them to the traditions of the merchant class from the Edo period and reflects Tanizaki's belief that the Edo period culture had been preserved in Osaka. Throughout, the novel contrasts the Kansai and Kant regions. Tokyo's poverty, bleakness, and disorder serve to set off Ashi's harmonious integration of tradition, modernity, and cosmopolitanism. By extolling the virtues of the Kansai region in contrast to Tokyo, Tanizaki may have been making a political statement. The unfavorable comparison of Tokyo to Kansai in the context of the war years, a subversive reminder of the non-military roots of Japanese culture and a sort of secret history of Japan from 1936 to 1941. Turning our focus to publication, let's explore its key elements. Sasamuyuki began as a serial in the magazine Jun'ichirō in 1943, but publication was halted by the Information Bureau of the Japanese War Ministry after 2 installments, the first in the issue for New Year 1943, now Book 1, Chapters 1 to 8, the second in the issue for March 1943, now Book 1, Chapters 9 to 13. In 1944, Tanizaki published 248 copies of a privately printed edition of Book 1, with financial backing from Jun'ichirō. This was, again, censured by the military. After the conclusion of World War II, the novel was published in 3 parts, Book 1 in 1946, Book 2 in 1947, and Book 3 in 1948. Let's now shift gears and explore reception and legacy through a critical lens, uncovering its strengths and weaknesses. The novel has been called the greatest cosmopolitan novel since the Meiji Restoration. Following its success, Tanizaki was awarded the Mainichi Prize for Publication and Culture and the Asahi Culture Prize. The novel has been translated into at least 14 languages. The English translation, by Edward G. Seidensticker, was published in 1957 as the Makioka Sisters. According to Charles East Hamilton of the University of California, Berkeley, many reviews in the United States of the English translation were marked by an air of discomfiture, with some reviews being uncivil and others with factitious praise. Donald Barr of the New York Times compared and contrasted the English translation of the novel with Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Barr concluded that the Makioka Sisters has in an immense degree the power of veracity, which is second only to the power of truth. Hamilton argued that Barr's comparison with Austen was done inaptly. Times stated that the book had a heroism that bends to the winds of fate like a reed and, never breaking, wins the subtler triumph of endurance. Time stated that significant portions of the book are dull enough to make US readers wonder if they are not in the hands of the Japanese Sandman. According to Hamilton, Anthony West of The New Yorker, in Hamilton's own words, guide the book at scurrilous length as a mere exercise in medical naturalism. Hamilton himself called the translation in the English version skillful. One criticism Hamilton had was the loss of the Kansai dialect in the translation. Get ready for an enlightening exploration as we dig into adaptations and understand its role in the broader context. Phil Sasamuyuki. Directed by Yukiko Abe. Tokyo, Newt Company. 1950. Sasamuyuki. Directed by Koji Shima. Tokyo, The Greater Japan Motion Picture Company. 1959. The Makioka Sisters. Directed by Konichikawa. Tokyo, Toe Company, Limited. 1983. Television Sasamuyuki. Nippon Television Network Corporation. Tokyo. 1957. Sasamuyuki. NET Now TV Asahi Corporation. Tokyo. 1959. Sasamuyuki. Nippon Television Network Corporation. Tokyo. 1965. Sasamuyuki. Fuji Television Network, Inc. Tokyo. 1966. Sasamuyuki. Yomiuri Telecasting Corporation. Osaka. 1980. I'm here to provide you with the best information, so let me know what else you'd like to learn about.